welcome back to my channel. My name is Rachel, that is the R in the RK Stumbling Bear, and I'm a reader and a writer. But welcome back to my best books of 2024. I don't have anything cute like a top 10, top 5, or a top 24. I typically just look at my 5 stars and I take off the rereads and then I organize them from there. And apparently in the list that I created, I didn't put the authors. So you'll have to get the authors from the pictures. Sorry about that. I have 13 reads I want to talk about today. And this is a mixed bag of novels, short stories, there's the nonfiction, just because I didn't read an overwhelming amount this year. So it's all on the same list. There's not going to be multiple videos. So coming in at number 13, I have The Countess Conspiracy. And I think that's by Courtney Milan. I don't know what it is about autumn, but I just really like reading historical romance. And I've always wanted to try Courtney Milan. Was somewhere where I didn't have access to a physical book. So got onto Libby and found this series. The Countess Conspiracy is number 3 in this romance series. And we're following Violet and Sebastian. And these two have been flirting with each other since the first book. Or at least I could tell that they were flirting with this first book. And so this is their story of getting together. And something that Courtney Milan is really good at is bringing in other issues of the time. And then each of the heroines have a different concern that's going on with them that I haven't read in any other books. And I can't say what Violet's is because that's one of the big things that her and Sebastian work through. And I love that Sebastian's like, yeah, I can work with that. I can love you in the way that is best for you. So their relationship together is really, really nice. All right, and then my next ones are 12 and 10 actually, but I'm going to talk about them together because they are from the same series. So number 12 is A Marvelous Light by Freya Marske, and number 10 is A Power Unbound by Freya Marske. A Marvelous Light is the first in the trilogy, and A Power Unbound is the second in the trilogy. No, is the third in the trilogy. It's the conclusion. And this is known as a gay historical romance series that has a very strong fantasy plot that I just love. And I really liked how we started and how we ended. In the first book, you get Robin and Edwin, and in the second book, you get Jack and... I'm forgetting the other guy's name. But anyway, this has a very compelling fantasy story talking about magic and who should have it and how it should be practiced. I really enjoyed it, and you can tell that Freya Marske has a very deep world building, and I would love more in this world from other people's point of views. I'd love to know more about the 4 women and their friends and their friendship, and even how it breaks up. I think that would be an interesting series. And then at number 11, I have Harrow the Ninth. This was on my exploding books list last year, and sneak peek, I got this. I read it. This is the sequel to Gideon the Ninth, and we're following Harrow as she's now on a space station with the immortal emperor, forget whatever he's called, and she's having some mental issues. And this is a trip. This is not written in the same style as Gideon, but completely 100% encompasses Harrow's personality. And yeah, it was amazing. I've already bought Nona, sitting on my TBR shelf behind me because I haven't read it yet, but it will be read in 2025. Then I have The Heiress Effect by Courtney Milan, which is actually the book 2 in the series that the Countess conspiracy was in. I think this edged that out just because I love Jane. Jane is an amazing heroine. In this, we are following Jane and Oliver. Jane is an heiress, and she's doing her best to be ridiculous so that she will not be married until her sister has reached the age of majority, because her sister has seizures and is being experimented on by their guardian. Well, their guardian's allowing doctors to experiment on her, and Jane wants to protect her sister. And then we follow Oliver, who is interested in rising in Parliament, but he has to maneuver and work around all of the peers to get what he wants through. So it's very much like they're attracted to each other, they like each other, but because they approach things differently, they both think that they can't be with one another. So it's fun to watch them figure things out. And also, I love Jane's sister has her own romance, and I love that side story as well. Then I have a short story called A Short Biography of a Conscious Chair. And I read this because it was nominated. I can't remember if it was for the Nebulas or the Hugos. But this was a very interesting look on sentience. We are following a chair that in its creation is now sentient, and we're following it through its life as its creator makes it, then dies, and before she can give him to who she thinks he should be with. And I don't know, I keep saying he for the chair could be an it. I don't know. But the chair then goes to a warehouse and then a shop, and is there for years until a man who's coming through sees the chair, recognizes that it's sentient, and purchase it along with some other furniture. And then that chair is in that old man's household with his grandson. His granddaughter comes for a visit, and you get to see the family dynamics and relationships of this family from the chair's perspective. And eventually you find out why the granddaughter hates her grandfather. And then we get to see the chair continue on into the grandson's life. And it's very sweet. Again, it goes through what is sentience, and then how do we care for the things that we love. My husband is always a big stickler in we need to take care of our possessions, our furniture, the things that we say we love. If we don't, then we're just bad stewards. And in the short story, I can really see the grandfather kind of with that same thing, is you need to take care of what you have. It's a mindset that is falling away in our society. Then I have The Spell Shop by Sarah Beth Durst. So after reading this, I recommended it to my mom, and she's like, all right, loan it to me. I'm like, well, I don't own it yet. I read it from the library. And so she bought it, and she said that that's my copy. She read it in a day, and now my sister's currently reading it. So once my sister's done with it, I will get the pretty copy and have it. And like everybody else, I completely gush about this cover. It is gorgeous. And I really enjoy the characters. I say Kyla for the name, because when you read a book, you never actually know the pronunciation. I'm sure those who have listened to it have better, but yeah, I say Kyla. I love Kaz and the fantasy story at the heart of this. I'm okay with the romance. It's cute, but it really, for me, it's the fantasy story that is pulling me through the found family aspects and wanting to help the family that you have created. I also kind of love that her mother really loved the city, and that's why they went. And then Kyla goes back and then finds that she really loves the island. So, yeah, and it's not against her mother, it's just different personalities. I know that The Spell Shop has gotten a lot of hype, so that might make a lot of people not want to read it. And it's one of those things, if you like cozy, try it. It's either going to work for you or not. I then have my nonfiction, The Six. This is a biography about the first 6 female astronauts that joined NASA. And I hadn't gotten to read a whole lot about them before, so it was kind of fun to see how the author pulled in all 6 of them as they decided to apply. I like that we got a lot of their, not a lot, I like that we got some backstory, and how, and where they were in their professional lives when they decided to apply, their family lives, and then their application, and then kind of how things broke down. You go through the first mission of each woman. Space history is one of my interests, so I will always pick up biographies or autobiographies, memoirs about this subject. And it doesn't even have to be just the astronauts, it's anyone who works for NASA. I find this interesting. And so because I have been reading these books for years, I know, a lot of the technical information is familiar to me, even though it's not how my brain works. So I know just from reading a ton in this historical time period, that this is a well-researched book. The other things that they talk about when they bring in the science, like I've heard about this from other sources that I've read, it makes me go, if you got the science right, you most likely did your research on the women's lives as well. Coming in at number 5, I have The Tainted Cup by Robert Jackson Bennett. This is my second Robert Jackson Bennett book. I've also read The City of Stairs, and like I said in my wrap-up video just days before this, I find that The Tainted Cup is very reminiscent of that. I find that the setting is very much a character and part of the story. The things that are happening in this mystery can only happen at these certain times in this way because it's Leviathan season. And I really enjoyed following Dan. I thought it was interesting to have, I know I've been hearing some people call this like plant punk or fungal punk because of how plants are used in this society, and then the magical powers that they have but for their society aren't magic, it's science-based, how they get them. It's just a wonderful, immersive world that you get to be in. The mystery, I'm not a huge mystery reader, and I kind of had figured out the mystery part when we met certain characters. I was like, oh, okay, this one. This is the one instigating all of this. I guess I've watched enough PBS Mystery with my mom and having her point things out that I could pick some of the stuff up. But I just enjoyed the world and getting to follow Eden and even getting to see Anna. Though the raw fish with Anna, I'm like, what the heck is going on there? Definitely something in her biology that allows her to do that. And I do think it's important to know that these characters are not human like us. They're not described that way either. So apparently she can eat raw fish without it being a problem. Number 4, I have Witch King by Martha Wells. And this is the first fantasy I've ever read by her. And I've had plenty of lead up to so many people saying, this is not going to be like Murderbot, which I really like Murderbot. But Rhea from the Book Finch had read her other series, the Raxura series, and had already said that Martha Wells' fantasy is very different than her sci-fi. So I was fully prepared when I went into this that it was not going to be Murderbot, and I loved it. It, again, immersive world building, I think, is the theme this year for me. Also, it helps that I like Kai and Z80, and she didn't do too many characters for me to follow, even though there are different characters that are interesting here. So I liked following them on their journey, and I found it interesting, like they get woken up and the first thing they're like, Z80's like, where's my wife? And so it's not, let's go get revenge on the people who put us here, but let's go find the other person who is supposed to be with us. It's very fun take on things. So coming in number 3, I have a short story called Better Living Through Algorithms by Naomi Kritzer. And this is such a cute story about using technology, but using technology to connect with real people. And I just loved it. I think it's everything that social media is supposed to be and has failed completely, because social media is trying to give you that human connection without actually giving you that human connection. But in this app, you get that human connection. So I loved it. My number 2 favorite read is The Adventures of Amina Al-Sarafi by Shannon Chakraborty. Again, immersive world building. And also, the main character is in her 40s, and I just turned 40 this year, so I feel more of a connection to, I think, this character, and how in your 40s you could still go on adventures and do things and affect the world. Yeah, I kind of like that. And I loved getting to see a different section of history that I don't typically read from, so that was a lot of fun. And then my number 1 favorite read of the year is the novelette The Year Without Sunshine, also by Naomi Kritzer. And I hate dystopian, but this is a dystopian that I would consider hopeful. We have a neighborhood that, as things are breaking down, they band together. And they band together accepting their neighbors no matter who they are, and finding out what they need and working to get that. And maybe that's the attitude we need more often as we see our greater world's political climate, not just the United States, but all over going on. This is something you can find online, and I am going to leave the link in my show notes, because this was a fantastic story of just love and compassion and learning who your neighbors are. And I loved it. So if you have read any of these books or reads, I would love to know down below. And if you haven't and are now interested in something, I would also love to know what you are interested in picking up. Thank you, and have a great day.